What's good, YouTube? Admin Umbra back for another episode of Road to Hoenn, the show where we give a competitive breakdown on how Alpha and Omega are going to change the competitive metagames in both Smogon singles formats and VGC. Today, people, we're going to talk about the worst, scariest thing to ever happen in the history of the world. Mega Salamence is here.
I can't do it. I can't.
Dear God, this thing has a one-way ticket to Ubers. This thing brought its express bracelet in Disney World. It's getting right on the Ubers ride. There is no doubt Mega Kang is keeping a seat warm. Salamence is going to be in Ubers. I don't see any way that this thing is going to stay in OU.
The first month it will be in Ubers.
It's like, honestly, Mega Lucario took a ton of steroids and had a baby with God, and then it was called Salamence.
Yes.
Like, people were like, Mega Lucario was... I thought they were upping the game of Megas. Like, we saw Mega Lucario and we were like, that's so scary. That is baby's food. That's peas and carrots. This thing is a demon. Mega Salamence is a demon. Like, I don't want to fight this thing.
Nope.
Like, dear God. Like, I'm telling you people right now. Stay tuned, by the way, to Rock HQ once the remakes come out. We're going to be doing a lot of tournaments to see who the best Mega is in all formats. But I'm telling you right now, I'm using this baby right here because use it while you can, get it while it's hot, because it's going to be in Ubers tomorrow. So that is my advice. I know I'm going to definitely make my very first team on Mega Salamence because I want a chance to use it in OU before it gets banned. So
immediately, before it immediately gets banned.
No, like tomorrow, Smogon's like, just so you know.
It's going to be banned before the game comes out. That is what is going to happen.
It's a monster.
But we should talk about why. We should talk about why.
Yeah, I'm about to say, people who've never heard this are just like, oh my gosh. Good golly wally, why are you talking about this? Well, let's go ahead and review what we know thus far. So, one, its design is amazing.
It's a fighter jet.
It's the, like, bat plane. Like, it looks like Batman's ride is what it looks like. But this thing is Mega Pincer 2.0. It is Dragon Flying type. It has Aerialate.
Oh.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Aerialate. This thing is going... Oh, I don't have to spell Aerialate. Air.
You can do it.
Of the word air.
Use your words.
Nope. I'm missing terribly right now. Air... Oh God! All right, you shade talk for a minute. I'm gonna try and find this.
While Umbra is trying to break out a dictionary, basically, Mega Salamence is going to be a monster mainly because of the Aerialate ability. Like he said, it is going to be like Pincer 2.0. The only thing that it's kind of lacking, I think, is actually priority type moves like Quick Attack. But it doesn't matter because this thing has ridiculous moves. It has stuff that can really take advantage of Aerialate, such as Body Slam.
Hold on. Before we even get into that, I want to point something out here. Before we even tell the people what moves this thing gets, you all have met Mega Pincer. You've been introduced. You are acquaintances. Mega Pincer has base 155 attack.
Yep.
Normal Salamence has base 135 attack.
Normal.
And has base 110 special attack. This thing is like Mega Lucario meets Mega Pincer because this thing has the potential to go mixed, to go special, or to go physical. Just like Mega Lucario, when this thing comes out, something on your team is dying because you need to figure out which variant of Salamence it is.
And you might be wrong.
And what's amazing about giving it Aerialate is this thing, in my opinion, has the best moves to take advantage of a like X8 ability ever. You know, we've seen Hyper Voice from Gardevoir. We've seen Return. We're going to see Return from possibly Altaria. We've seen Thrash from Mega Pincer. Guess what? It gets all of them. This thing gets every amazing move to use with like an X8 ability. It gets Hyper Voice. It gets Double Edge. It gets Thrash. This thing is a monster. Again, it's got insane base stats. You figure its speed, special attack, and attack are going up. They might even lower defenses, who knows, but those are going up to make it even scarier. And this thing has access to, like we said, the best flying type moves in the game. It's going to get Stab, Hyper Voice, Thrash, Double Edge. Dear God, this thing is going to be an absolute monster.
The only thing missing, the only reason it's not banned at Ubers already, is because, like we said, the priority is not there. But that, like, it doesn't matter. This thing is just I don't even know what to say about it. Like, I'm not even going to pretend that this thing is not just going to be the biggest monster that everyone tries to build their team around for a month until it's gone from our lives forever. Aegislash will be back, but that doesn't even really matter. Like, I don't even know what to do against this thing. I can't even think about how the meta is going to handle this right away. I really can't.
It won't. That's the answer. It cannot handle this thing. Like, there's no... It won't. Like, I honestly... Let us know in the comments, people, but I honestly think this thing will get banned. I think it'll be the first
immediately
thing to get banned. Really, because it's like Lucario in that you have that prediction game. It could easily be special. It could easily be physical. And if you guess wrong, you're losing a poke. Even if you guess right, like...
It could be mixed easily.
The fact that it gets... Some of these moves do so much damage. Like, I can see someone going like, all right, it's physical. Let me switch in my Azumarill, Fairy type. You do not want to take a Thrash, like an Aerialate Thrash at +1. You're dead. I don't care who you are. Like, you are dead. But we've been talking about how much of a threat this thing is. Some of you probably want proof, so let's go ahead and break it down. Let's talk movesets. Okay. Let's talk about why this thing is a monster.
Let's do it.
We're going to go ahead and begin with singles formats. Let's talk about, because I think most of these will probably be physical. Let's talk about physical Salamence in singles formats. So we know, Shade, we know by law, Dragon Dance.
Yep.
By law. Card carrying Dragon Dance user. And here's what's make this thing so scary. Now, I actually predict it not running Outrage anymore. I think it's probably going to run Dragon Claw, because with a Dragon Dance, you don't need Outrage. Dragon Claw is going to do work. And instead of Outrage, it's going to be running Thrash. Take full advantage of Aerialate. Again, already base 120 with the Aerialate bonus. Oh my gosh, you've seen Pinsir use this technique already. That's going to do serious damage. And if you haven't seen our Altaria video where we talked about Altaria, check that out. That is in the playlist on the channel on the road to Hoenn. We do a bunch of these, everybody. But similar to Altaria, if it goes offensive, this thing gets Earthquake. And notably, one of the only things that resists the Dragon Flying combination is going to be your Steel type. So Earthquake is going to be an excellent last move for physical coverage. But honestly, if I was to build a set today, right now, this is the physical set I'd probably run if I wanted to be as cliche as possible. Dragon Dance, Dragon Claw, Aerialate Thrash, and Earthquake.
Yep. That's what I have written down.
This thing is a monster. And like, what makes it so powerful is there's not a lot of things that can switch into this. Like, we gave the example of Azumarill. If this thing switches in on you, and this is why, talking about abilities, I honestly think Intimidate will be a better ability, at least on this Salamence right here, because you can come in, intimidate something, force a switch, have a free turn to go for your Dragon Dance, and very few things can take a +1 Dragon Claw or Thrash. Very few. And if your opponent tries to play switch games, nothing is taking 2 Thrashes. Like, the sheer amount of damage this thing can do, it's going to be a nuke. It's going to be insanely powerful. But Shade, am I missing anything? Are there any other cool physical moves that you think this thing gets worth mentioning?
You basically covered, like I said, I had that written down before you even said it, but that is probably going to be the most common set, but I could definitely see some other weirder physical sets run. Maybe like a double-edged roost combo. It definitely gets that, similar to Altaria. It's really weird how similar this thing is to Altaria. Not so much in terms of stats, but in terms of its move pool is very similar. I think it's interesting because, like I said in the previous video, I think Altaria is most likely going to be more defensive, but Salamence, it's a fighter jet. It is the thing that flies through the cloud Altaria that is going to just destroy everyone's lives. So no doubt in my mind, this thing is going to be just ridiculously offensive. But yeah, like, I definitely agree with your moveset. I think that's going to be the most common in this meta.
I think so too. I think that probably will be what we settle into. But this thing does get a lot of physical moves, so I do want to run through real quick and just list some of the cool ones off to you all. You're not going to see another flying type move because of Aerialate. We're going to have that covered with probably Return or Thrash. I think Thrash will be much more common. I could see potentially Return and Outrage being one together, but I honestly think it will be Thrash. We've got Aqua Tail. You could do Body Slam or Headbutt to get kind of cheeky. Excuse me. We've got Brick Break, Crunch. We've mentioned Double Edge. I don't see Dragon Rush. I don't see a Hoenn Claw set being very common. Fire Fang is an option, but probably unlikely. Iron Tail, I don't see being worth it, to be honest. Rock Slide, I think in VGC will be a lot more common. I think we'll probably see a lot of Rock Slide in VGC. I don't know how much of it we'll see in the singles format. It depends how much attack they give it. I don't see it needing, for example, Rock Slide to hit Charizard Y or Talonflame. I see Dragon Claw, even Thrash doing that job. It could get Thunderfang as well, Zen Headbutt. You've seen it there twice on screen. I do want to mention, I don't think it's a good user of it. It's really better on Eviolite Shelgon, but Salamence actually does get Wish via Event. So if you have access to Gen, you can Gen a Salamence with Wish. I've used one before. I don't see it being practical on Mega Salamence, however. Other than your Rock Tomb, which you could run, I don't see that being useful. Your Rock Tomb rollout, that's a great choice. Honestly, I think Earthquake is probably the most common move in that last slot. But let us know for Noodles, as always. Let us know what you think is going to be the popular physical move set. As we discussed earlier, I mean, some people could argue that, like, what are you talking about? It's going to win Moxie just like Pinsir does. I mean, it easily could. You could easily bring this thing in because of its natural speed to kill something with a Dragon Claw and get your Moxie. I'm not going to lie, it's very, very possible. That might become what we see a lot of. I guess I'm not as convinced by it because I feel like this thing could so easily get a Dragon Dance up. In VGC, I think without a doubt, Intimidate will be a better ability. Just looking at the VGC meta now, although obviously the current VGC meta is geared towards special Salamence, I do think that Intimidate will be better in VGC. I can see it being viable in singles to really force an opponent to switch to get that free Dragon Dance up. But I can also see people wanting Moxie. It depends on how you want to use it. Do you want to bring it in to set up, or do you want to bring it in to finish something off and get its +1 with Moxie? Notably, its speed is base 100, so it's not stellar. So if you do bring it in to finish something off and not Mega, your opponent could outspeed you next turn with anything over the speed tier of 100. So that's kind of a notable issue with it. But Shade, do you want to go ahead and start moving us towards the special Salamence?
Absolutely. So I'm just kind of throwing this out there, but the set that I have written down that I would probably run today if I had this Salamence would be something like Fire Blast, Hyper Voice, Draco, and even Hydro Pump. As Umber was saying, obviously special Salamence is more common right now in VGC, and honestly, I don't know what's going to happen with this thing in VGC. I think that Mixed might even be the new meta as far as like VGC goes with Mega Sally, especially like you said with the Rock Slide, but really I think its special move pool is very, very awesome, especially the reason I think Mixed would be really interesting is that if it does get that attack buff and special attack buff, with the Intimidate, it'll be very powerful, especially because you can switch in, have the Hyper Voice in the back and Draco even if you need it, but also carry the Rock Slide and some other spread moves such as that. So I think that'd be really interesting, but honestly, I could see this thing as being really going either way. We haven't seen what the stats are going to be like yet on Mega Salamence, but it is definitely going to be a major special threat as well. As Umber said near the beginning of the video, it is going to be Mega Lucario just on roids, just with wings. That's basically what's going to happen.
Mega Luke meets Mega Pencil.
Exactly. This thing is going to be able to switch in, similar to how Luke did at the beginning of the meta, and just be able to take one of your pokes because you're trying to guess what it is. And you might be like, okay, that's physical. He used physical thing. Let me switch this in. And then it hits you with a Hyper Voice. So really, this thing is just a major threat. So let's talk about a couple more of its special type moves. So obviously, there's stuff like Draco. There's going to be Fire Blast, which is probably going to be a Fire Blast or Flamethrower is going to be pretty prevalent. Does this thing get access to Overheat for VGC? I don't really know. Or not even Overheat, but no, it doesn't. Heat Wave?
I think it's just the Fire Blast, yeah.
Yeah, it does get Heat Wave.
I think it gets Heat Wave via move tutor, yes. So very similar to Altaria, actually. This thing has access to a lot of spread moves. Hyper Voice. Don't forget, Hyper Voice hits everybody, people. This thing, obviously the first Aerialate user to use Hyper Voice. You associate Hyper Voice with Pixelate. But again, remember this thing's base special attack is 110. They give it a decent boost. Ow, Hyper Voice is going to hurt. And you think about how common fighting types have been in VGC. Conqueror obviously making a big appearance. It's Mega Venusaur. Hello. Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Goodbye. Like, that. When I see this thing in VGC, I think, I don't give a crap about Mega Venusaur. That's what I think. Like, you are not taking a Hyper Voice from a Mega Salamence with Aerialate. You are not. I don't care who you are. Obviously, one advantage it has over, we see a lot of specs, we see a lot of Scarf Salamances right now in VGC. Obviously, it's got the freedom to switch up its moves. I'm really curious to see if in VGC, if this thing actually becomes more prominent than a normal Salamence, notably normal Salamence will outspeed this thing with a Scarf. I'm guessing this thing will be EV'd in VGC to survive Dracos, assuming they don't give it a special defense,
drop or
take
something.
points away from it. Drop, thank you. If they do that, I can see normal Salamence being better in VGC. But I can see this thing putting pressure on people to run Scarfed pokes like Scarf Ninja. Not that that's probably going to be in the mix VGC, but Scarf Starmie, things with an Ice Beam that can kill it for the quad effective, because this thing is going to be a problem. I think it could easily survive. I think it'll be EV'd to survive, assuming it doesn't get drops. But that's kind of my question to all of you is, do you think this thing will actually outclass normal Salamence? Obviously, in the current VGC, Mega Gardevoir failed in VGC to take out normal Gardevoir, but that's really because Gardevoir did not have access to Hyper Voice in this gen VGC. Obviously, it will the next gen, and Salamence will have access to Hyper Voice. So, I don't know. It's definitely going to be slower than Scarfmance. We need to see if it hits harder than Specs-Mance. We need to see how much special attack they give it. That'll be a big factor. But the Hyper Voice Aerolate does give it something very, very unique normal Salamence won't have. So I'm kind of curious to see if this thing will actually be more prevalent than normal Salamence. I hope it's at least common, because then the guessing games of do they have a Mega, do they not, bluffing Megas, all of that should be super, super exciting next season. So that's what I definitely hope for on the VGC circuit. But Shay, do you have any thoughts about this thing, either in VGC or in singles formats, as a special threat?
Other than what I've mentioned before with the kind of special moves that it does have access to, I don't really have much more to say other than it's going to be an absolute monster. It just, like, the Aerolate really just gave it the coverage that it needed to push it over the edge, especially because we're definitely going to assume it is going to get much higher stats in attack and special attack. So it really needed Aerolate in a way so that way it could push it over the edge, because it doesn't really have any flying moves to really speak of, even though it is Flying Dragon.
I agree, and I'm honestly very, very glad at the trend we've been seeing where flying has become a better offensive type. Shade is out in the streets every day with his Choice Scarf Landorus with Fly, trying to spread the gospel. And notably, one of the biggest downfalls to Salamence and VGC is a Mega Venusaur. It can't touch it. It can't touch it. But now with access to Hyper Voice, you have to realize that now dead. You can. You can do a lot more than touch it. You can annihilate it. You can kill it 100%. So that's definitely going to be a big win for Mega Salamence. I don't know if we'll see a lot of special ments in Smogon singles. Historically, people are more drawn to the Dragon Dance pokes, the pokes with setup moves. Obviously, this thing doesn't really have a setup to raise its special attack. If you could baton pass this thing,
No.
good God.
Nope.
I could see it being special in OU with your Fire Blast, Hydro Pump, Draco, Hyper Voice. I think it'd be really awesome to see. Honestly, I see it being overshadowed by a Dragon Dance set, though. I think the Dragon Dance set will probably do a lot more work, to be totally honest. I don't think you just can't, there's nothing you can say to a Dragon Dance Thrash, a Dragon Dance Dragon Claw from Mega Salamence. I just think in VGC, we'll see a lot more of the physical variant. But let us know in the comments. Let us know what you think. Which is better? Which do you think you'll see more of in which format? Which are you excited for? And do you think this thing will get banned?
Immediately.
So do you want to go ahead and talk about some weird stuff? Like, let's look at what other moves this thing gets right now today and see if there's any hidden gems in its move list. And let us know in the comments if we miss a move. If you see a move on screen that you're like, oh, this would be an amazing set, please, Rocket Nation, leave your comments down below. And remember, if you leave insightful, creative, competitive comments, you can even get points in the Rocket tier system. Just be sure you leave your Twitter username in the comment down below. But more information on the Rocket tier system is on the Rocket HQ Twitch, link to which is down below. So, weird moves. Shady Boy, what catches your eye?
Oh, to be honest, I don't see this thing being used to be that weird. I know that sounds weird of me to say, but I think that people are not going to run anything too outlandish on this thing just because it kind of overshadows its like sheer power. So a couple of things that kind of stand out to me, at least a little bit. because this thing, like you said, is going to be an absolute monster. So a couple things that people could run to kind of take people off guard would be running something like Defog on this, or running a more supportive role that you wouldn't really see coming, something like Tailwind. Because like I said, we don't really have an idea of what its stats are going to be like, so maybe Tailwind support would be interesting. But it gets Sunny Day, just weird stuff. A Zen Headbutt even is a really interesting move, but we're really going to have to see how the meta shapes up, because it's kind of hard to tell right now what moves are going to be, absolutely essential and which ones aren't.
So you don't think Iron Defense Wish, you don't
Yes,
see
it's going to be on mine. I'm going to make Salamence into Mega Altaria. That's what's going to happen.
Not bad at all. But yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you. This is one of those pokes, and I know there's some of you out there who hate on these pokes, the OUE pokes, and they're too OUE in standard, and I agree with you. I think that this is a mon that is it's straightforward. Salamence is honest.
He's not pretending to be anything he's not.
He's just like, hey, take me, or hey, take me or hate me. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm honest, and honesty is important in a relationship. So I don't want you all to shoot Salamence out of the sky just yet. But I do agree. I don't see a lot of creative things happening. I think that very quickly we will all agree on a set that is run until it gets banned to Ubers. And I think that set's probably going to be your Dragon Dance, Thrash, Dragon Claw, Earthquake set. But let us know what you think. And do you think it will get banned to Ubers? And if it does get banned to Ubers, will it do a good job there? I think Ubers is going to be a really interesting tier next gen. I think more people might get roped into Ubers with how many things are starting to get banned to Ubers. I feel like the intensity of the metagame might go down or almost take a shift to include a lot more not legendary Uber, mythical Uber-esque pokes, like Mawwow's being suspect tested, which I personally don't think it should be, even though I hate Mega Mawwow. Things of that nature. Yeah. So Aegislash is gone. So is Aegislash going to stay gone? Are we going to see Mega Salamence get bumped up to Ubers? Can't survive in Ubers. Obviously, to me, its greatest flaw in Ubers will be Extreme Speed Deoxys, Extreme Killer Arceus. It can't really handle priority very well at all. It will die to those things. I think it might be too frail to survive in Ubers, to be honest. But let us know if you think it could survive in Ubers. And don't forget, Ubers will change, not just with Mega Groudon, Mega Kyogre, but with bans shifting back and forth. It'll be interesting times. So let us know what you think of Salamence. Without further ado, Shay, do you want to talk about some possible tutor moves this thing might get?
Let's do it.
That could potentially make it weird.
It doesn't need anything else. It's so scary as is, but yes.
It doesn't. That's the problem. Let's give it some armor. Let's give it some machine gun turrets. Let's give it plus 15 broadsword.
You just know there was a meeting in Nintendo, and people were sitting around. Game Freak was there, and it's like, we want you to make the killer Pokemon. That's what the name of Salamence is gonna be. And Game Freak was like, what? It's like, you heard us. You're gonna make a monster, an absolute monster, and they did. So
they did.
I guess let's look at some of this stuff.
This is the light and fast generation. I'm telling you, everything is light and fast. I feel like Altaria is gonna be, honestly, Metagross is light and fast. Deontay is light and fast. Salamence is too light, too fast, and too powerful. All these things that were bulky are becoming just bullets, insanely speedy killers, and it's gonna make OU is gonna be, I think, take a shift towards hyper offensive, or people are gonna have to. I think less people will start to have stall tactics on their team unless they're truly skilled stall players, because a lot of these pokes are gonna destroy.
Yeah.
If you do not have a good defensive core, you're gone. I think it's really going to put pressure on being a good defensive player, to be totally honest, because almost every team in OU is going to have a Mega that's now that the Mega numbers are expanding, there's almost no excuse not to have an absolute destroyer of worlds Mega on your team. Salamence, Metagross, and I think if teams are not prepared defensively, that they'll just get smashed through, because there's more and more powerful pokes. Realize that you can have a Mega Metagross and a Talonflame. The level of power you can have in OU, OU is getting a little Ubersy.
Yep.
There's a lot of power. So I think it may even shift the playstyle that we've seen. I think defensive players will be rewarded, because honestly, some of these things, If you're not prepared for Mega Salamence, it'll wreck your whole team.
If I could see, if I saw any move that would really, I mean, any couple moves, any idea of playing that would really, start to get more out there would be stuff that would be able to disable abilities. So if you're able to take Aerialate away from Salamence via skill swap, via Worry Seed, just something like that in general, it would definitely cripple it somewhat, but still, we don't know what the stats is going to be. I'm assuming it's going to, like you said, just be hyper offensive. But still, I could definitely see that as being more prevalent. We're really going to have to see, to be honest, though.
I agree. Now, without further ado, let's go ahead and look at these Move Tutor moves. For those of you who do not know, we just go to Bulbapedia, pull up Move Tutors. Obviously, all these moves will not be in the game. The reason we're doing this is it's highly likely Move Tutors will come back based on the patterns in previous Pokemon games, which means Gen 6 Pokes and even some old Pokes might get new Move Tutor toys to play with. Obviously, a huge deal in VGC, but that's what we're just seeing is if Salamence gets any fun Move Tutor moves. Obviously, some new moves might become Move Tutor moves like Defog, which I don't see Salamence wanting. It's got better things to do than get rid of rocks, in all sincerity. But let's go ahead and look at the list. Feel free to look at the list yourselves, and that's not what you missed. I mean, obviously, just like Altaria, we could do, or even Pinsir can do this. You could be really cheeky and run like a headbutt body slam, but you're using the machine gun as a can opener. Like, there's no reason not to be running Thrash or Hyper Voice on a Salamence, honestly. I mean, we talked about a double-edged Roost set as possible, but I don't see that being as likely because it's got such a low HP stat in the first place, and access to Thrash, something that Altaria does not have, which makes it more likely to run double-edge. I don't know, are you seeing? I'm going through the list. I'm not seeing anything better than what we already have on this puppy.
The only thing that would absolutely, I mean, I think would really push this thing over the edge is that the only possible thing you could have maybe some problems with, depending on what it is like some kind of bulky water. The only thing that Salamence really has to address that is kind of Thunderfang. So it would be, I mean, obviously with Aerialate, nothing wants to be able to take that. But at the same time, something like Giga Drain would be kind of cool. That would just, but it's really pushing over the edge. This thing is an absolute monster.
I agree with you. Like, you think about, it would need such a powerful, super effective move to get rid of one of these moves it already has. Because you think about, even if it's running Thunderfang, that's not going to hurt you as much as an Aerialate Thrash is.
Right,
like,
exactly.
You can switch into water all you want. Milotic is not going to want to take, unless it's Mega Milotic, who's a fairy type. Even then, you're not going to want to take an Aerialate Thrash. Like, it's going to do way too much to you. With Earthquake, Hydro Pump, and Fire Blast, it would need access to very, very powerful attacks to bump one of those out of its move slot. And honestly, unlike Altaria, it's got an even better special move pool. You know, it's got Draco, Hyper Voice, Fire Blast, and a Hydro Pump. Notably, it does not get Ice Beam. I think Ice will be very common because of Salamence and VGC. This thing does get Tailwind, however, which could be cool. You figure if it's a Mega, it's probably going to be running Protect. Honestly, when I look at this list, people, I don't see a lot that I think is worth getting rid of either Earthquake or Fire Blast or Hydro Pump. There's such powerful attacks. I don't see any Move Tutor moves bumping those out. But let us know if you've been admin noodles. Check the list yourself. See what we missed. But Shade, before we move to close, do you have any final thoughts on Mega Salamence?
Run for the hills, kids. Run for the hills. Get something insane. Just Eviolite. Get something. I don't even know what to tell you to try to bring on your teams. I'm just gonna hide out in the meta for like a month until this thing's gone. But we're gonna have to see. We're really gonna have to see. But I had a whole lot of fun looking at it, and now I'm more afraid of it than I was at the beginning of the video. So thank you for that. And yeah.
I gotta tell you, I get so excited doing these videos though. Like I am truly pumped for these games. I think they have the potential to be the best Pokemon games that we've seen yet, especially competitively. I'm just so excited for what they're doing with the meta. I'm so excited for Megas. I love Megas. I want all of them. I love there being so much variety in Megas. I love it. We've seen a lot of offensive Megas lately. You know, your Lopunny, your Salamence, your Metagross, Altaria's on the border right now. I'm kind of hoping they start to show us some bulky Megas to balance things out a little bit. I'd love to see what the next Venusaur is going to be. I'm willing to bet that Milotic is going to be probably Water Fairy and bulky. It's going to be interesting to see, but I know I enjoyed this look at Mega Salamence. I hope that you all did as well watching. And don't forget, this is interactive. This is all for the fun of sharing what we love. We all love Pokemon. We all love these games. We all love the speculation. So let us know what you think. Leave a comment, leave a rating if you like the video. It helps the channel grow. But tell us, do you think this thing will get banned in Ubers? What's your bet? How many days, how many hours, how many minutes till it gets kicked out in Ubers? Could it survive in the wasteland of Ubers? Do you think it will stay OU? Will it be physical or special or mixed? In VGC, what will it look like? Moxie or Intimidate? Let us know your thoughts, your set. We want to hear what you have to say. You could define the next meta of Pokemon. So let us know, and thank you so much for watching. As always, beautiful, wonderful Rocket people, my name is Adam Umbra, signing off for Rocket HQ. Have a good one.
See ya.